Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 22nd, and we noticed a little short setup that developed well back over here with the plus 13.5 right there with the orange, and we had some modest retrace within that one. Wasn't anything too dramatic. We're starting off a little bit weaker as well. We're still getting continued decline. So within this particular phase, we are at the weakest point. That we've held up fairly decent with the supports is surprising. We're slightly under the 25 now in the pre-market. So incredible resilience given the fact that this is clear signal for more weakness at the current time. And the NQ responding a little bit stronger. And this has had the poorest readings of any of them. And it's continued to decay. And it's getting oversold there. Minus 21 is pretty decent. Minus 16 for the red on the DOC. Those are getting kind of extreme. And it's testing now the ABM green levels. And again, I would say any break below that, you definitely would have to be short the setup and not even think about the turnaround unless it comes back above it. Surprisingly, within it, you still have Euro rising and holding up. It was in a short, brief period and took a quick dump value-wise, but it's been within this fairly new range right here between 120 and that peg has been what the EU is considered sort of like top line point. Anything over 120 for them is considered very negative. The fact that it's even up there seems to be a bit much, given that that built-in expectation that the U.S. is not in growth and is not going to be raising rates at all. And this would indicate just the opposite, because we're still way higher than we should be with this. So we should be well below the 120 range, but just a belief that there's no room for the Fed to tighten. And then they talk about unwinding their balance sheet. That's also, I think, kind of just sort of press-related stuff. There's really, I mean, what are you going to do when there's no buyers? Now, it'd be interesting for the market because, gosh, it would be the first time where we might actually see some increases in volatility. And oil staying at the top side of the range, and again, I think that's just an indication that potentially, despite all of the concerns, there may actually be some positive worldwide growth issues, and inflation, because of the latest Fed situation, it's been in a short for gold for a little bit, and we talked about needing to fill back in the positive extremes. Did that there. These have already been filled back in. The last portion would be this dip right here below the red line, so we're around the 119. But once it resets, this should provide a new opportunity for jumping back in place. This was the 5K, and it was mostly short all the day. Then we ended up with a couple of these reset points right down here on the DOC where they came up and produced the 6s and 7s on that. Came up, it was okay rally. It wasn't anything spectacular, but then it just stalled and we went into flat zone, and then we started breaking down on the shakeout readings right there, and eventually just succumbed to the weight of that a little bit just by retesting the floor from, well, back over here. And as soon as it got below it, came right back to it. So that's the pre-market setup right now. Still pretty modest, but now the 25 is going to be resistance where I don't know that it was ever really support before. It was just sort of holding on right at that range, and I think people are just waiting. It just seems to be a little bit of a end of month, yeah, if you want to call it a gameplay or anything. It's just there really isn't an impetus to do anything. I mean, you've got some tech stuff that's suffering at this particular point, and it's kind of holding things flat since they've been the primary movers of the market range and that. And until that changes, we're probably just going to be bouncing around here. But I think the ranges will start to increase a little bit and get back to the 10, 12 point moves every given day, and then you'll start to see a little bit more directional interest as we, well, I think we're just fighting through this period of lull, absorbing what has been a pretty extraordinary move. So As always, though, continue to look for me on the Skype chat, and we will trade well.